There are many varying testaments to the start of the gamer revolution. Some say it began in 2015, others attest it to the late 2017s and the early 2018s, and there are some who believe that the gamer revolution began the day video games were made. But nevertheless, of when, a gamer revolution was inevitable. For since the very beginning of their existence, gamers have been an oppressed group. The gamer revolution was a reactionary movement sparked by the rampant oppression of avid video game activists. For far too long since their conception, gamers have been a persecuted group, scorned and ostracized by the rest of society. They never got girlfriends, they never got Stacy or Veronica or fucking whatever, and when they did get something good, it was taken away, picked apart at and sliced by the government, then returned, broken and mangled. A mess, a disaster, a ruin of its former self. The first violent gaming protest occurred at the height of a first wave gamer rally. It was July 29th, 1994, and the government was being bullies. They destroyed the credibility and dethroned the sales for games strategically deemed violent and not safe for children by laundering several game statuses from an E for everyone down to a rated mature. AKA, I can't buy Mortal Kombat with my allowance money. I gotta have my dad with me. But my dad left my mom and I when I was 5, and my mom's an alcoholic, so I can't buy Mortal Kombat. Fuck you, ESRB! Though disguised as being for the children's sake. This was actually all a systematically discriminatory, clever ploy utilized by the government into censoring video game media and controlling the masses. However, this backfired heavily because they didn't expect what gamers are capable of. Feeling angry and violent from no longer having an outlet for their anger and violent tendencies. Gamers rose in the form of a peaceful protest. One undercut as a physical incident escalated the protest into a hyperficial violent massacre. 10 people were slaughtered, 17 people were seriously injured. One woman, a gamer girl, had her head split open and needed surgery. Casualties occurred on both sides, but unfortunately, it was the government whom had found victory. Following this event, gamers soon became a truly oppressed group. Just like black people and slavery, gamers were captured and utilized, used for their skills as laborers to produce highly epic content without just reward. In 2001, Bill Gates, creator of Microsoft, made the Xbox. That's so to propagate a stand-in for the gamer Cold War between Japan and the US. Gamers were overworked, overclocked, and understaffed. They struggled to make a living, as Xbox exploited their gaming skills for a cheap penny. And from these endeavors, countless shitty games were rushed and released. Tons of Xbox and Microsoft PC exclusive titles that in the end didn't mean diddly squat. Oh, and Halo. So I guess it was worth it. Just like how slavery created most of the systematic bridges to the South US's railroad system, though that's something people tend to forget. In one particular instance of gamer oppression from Microsoft, a factory disaster occurred thanks to mismanagement, and 50 gamers perished in an explosion that destroyed the facility. And this was called 9/11.
Welcome to Tilted Towers.
Which was, of course, swept under the rug as terrorism, with the blame being set on a guy whom later records show to also be an avid video game player. And now he's dead. Thanks, Obama. Of course, everyone forgot about 9/11 2 months after the Xbox publicly came out, and low IQ people celebrated in the streets, cheering with love and a fame for this joyous new device. And these people are called fake gamers, whom themselves began to rise starting onwards from late 2001. Fake gamers like 3 things: Minecraft, Fortnite, and literally anything else that's popular. This was the dawn of true oppression for gamers, as the wants and needs of OG gamers began to trend into a much broader term. fake gamers began to bring in their own wants. They wanted diversity. They wanted representation. They wanted reparations. They wanted rights for everyone, specifically women and minorities. But true gamers hate women and minorities. A true gamer only wants 3 things: Stacy, chicken tendies, and Israel to be Isri gone. Debates about what defined the definition of a true gamer emerged in the late 2000s, surging most fiercely in 2008, following the election of Obama, the first half-black president of the United States, and the release of Call of Duty World at War. True gamers like me used to love playing Call of Duty 1 and 3, but then the mainstream media colonized the franchise and marginalized it, following the success of the game thanks to its innovative Zombies mode. The Call of Duty franchise has always been one which was slowly declining over the years following the first game's release. Thanks to World at War's success, just like the Zombies, the franchise was revived, was revitalized. It rose from the dead, you could say, and lived once more. But at what cost? Could you call stumbling around, brainlessly rushing to remake the same exact game over and over again with a different map texture living? Plus, now neo-gamers, who never played a Call of Duty game in their life, picked up the title and retorted their love for the franchise, even though they've never played another COD game in their lives. For the first time in their existence since 2001, true gamers began to see through the veiled chains around their wrists called the government and Xbox, and tensions once more bloomed over the idea of gamerism. That is, the belief that gamers are the chosen people. A division of opinion came to be, a divide which shook gamers to their core. There were the fake gamers, who were called libtard gamers, and there were the true gamers, who were called conservatard gamers. Libtard gamers were generally naive young gamers who tended to accept new things, like Minecraft instead of Roblox, and Persona instead of literally any other Shin Megami Tensei game. Conservatard gamers were more conservative with their beliefs, holding their values to heart, and found change hard to deal with. They stayed with much older titles, such as Sonic the Hedgehog 2, compared to Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. So much Fortnite in here, dude. Mega Man 2, compared to Mega Man Star Force 2 Ninja Edition, and the Mayan 2012 Extinction Calendar, compared to Y2K. Conservatard gamers were a religious bunch, so they believed that the world would end in 2012. Thus, as 2010 came onwards by, only 2 years before the fabled Armageddon, in fear, conservatard gamers' power began to wane, as they believed that nothing really mattered anyway soon. Everybody was all gonna die! After all, the signs were there. Call of Duty finally made a worse clone of their shitty game. But in 2012, the world didn't end. Or rather, it ended. But not in a way we'd have ever expected. Following December 21st, 2012, conservatard gamers, aka the true gamers, began to rise, and this became known as the Gamer Civil War. True gamers took to the streets. They burned buildings, targeted and slaughtered black people intentionally, paid women only 70% of what they paid men, called black people with white-sounding last names 60% of the time more than black-sounding last names, and even raped 1/3 of all college women. Gamers were on the rise! But it wasn't a one-sided war. Both sides were cunning, and the fake gamers used every defeat as an opportunity to promote their oppression, to garner support via fake liberal tears, and cry on the media about how no one would buy their shitty game. Boo-hoo! But this war would not end before long, and in one final revolt, that which determined the final side of the war, the gamers devised a plan called Operation Deus Vult. On August 8th, 2014, a group of elite gamers known as FaZe entered the homes of targeted women and minority gamers and slit their throats in their sleep. Hundreds perished in the night as the world woke up to one of the most biggest massacres of all time. The tide of the gamer civil war had ultimately shifted, with true gamers reigning as supreme. This was the good year. Shovel Knight, Child of Light, Bannerlord Saga, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, FIFA 2015, which would stand the test of time, came out all in tandem heat, and for the first time ever, I asked a girl out, and she said yes! Victory! However, this victory was a false one. Operation Deus Vult was actually an event perpetrated by hard-coded brainwashing, ushered into impressionable gamer minds brought by the use of playing video games. With the Easter egg-coded messages, gamers were tasked to kill all women and minorities in their homes at night on August 8th, 2014. Within several financially successful games, this plan brought into fruition by gaming narrative designer and serial massacrist mastermind Chris Avellone via subliminal brainwashing throughout many of the titles he's carried, such as Fallout New Vegas and Faster Than Light Special Edition. Games only true gamers would play, and it was a Friday night, so that meant a huge amount of gamers were readily available for deployment because they didn't have school the next day. In truth, Operation Deus Vult and the entire gamer civil war was perpetrated by the government in order to use older gamers, aka boomers, to kill younger gamers, aka zoomers, thus eliminating dangerous threats to the boomer empire and helping to keep minorities a minority.
Disgusting black creatures.
Which is exactly what they wanted! Why do you think offices have a bunch of old white guys in them? This immediately prompted the Ferguson riots, just a single day later, which was an event where black people systematically used other black people to rob, profit, and kill other black people, all in the name of protecting the rights of black people. Once again, true gamers, the most oppressed people in the world, were manipulated by the government into doing terrible, terrible things and used as pawns to do the government's work. Gamers were at their lowest, and both the surviving fake gamers and the mainstream media exploited this. Depression Quest, Gone Home, Life is Strange, Overwatch, Undertale. Each of these diverse, LGBT-positive, revolutionary games became Game of the Year and reached mass exposure of the common people by the media as a representation for what true video games were. True gamers were forgotten. True gamers were forsaken. True gamers were truly oppressed. But that would change. In 2016, gamers rose. On November 7th, 2016, the remnants of the Gen Y gamer army took to the streets of the following American states: Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and politically sacked them like this was Kansas in 1855, ushering America under a siege of distill for belief. Lies were exposed, oppression was revealed, and so begot the horror of the true capability gamers who rise have. So begot the first true official battle of the gamer revolution.
How do you like that, Obama?
And on November 8th, 2016, it was revealed that the true gamers had won. Against the wishes of Shillelagh Clinton, Donnie J. Trump was elected as the 45th President of the United States of America. And if you didn't know, Trump is a gamer. Just like black people and Obama, gamers received representation within the government. And unlike Obama, Trump did deliver. taxes,
economic
growth,
jobs
created. But besides all that boring stuff, minorities finally felt the decay and shame the true boomer and Gen Y gamer had felt in 2008. Now was the time. Now was the rise. And so begats the tale of the gamer revolution. 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. Such is the golden age of gamerism. The holy days of the true gamer's rise. But those days are numbered, friend. Gamers won't reign supreme forever. Not unless we rise again. So will you join? I said, will you join me in my meaty revolt, in my holy war against those who don't even play video games, and those who don't even play the right video games? Deus Vult! Deus Vult!